Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of Scarves and Spikes. It is going to be the whole crew right now. Tyler, Sydney, Henry, Tommy is on his way. And
he's coming.
He's on the way. We have a full episode tonight. So
what are you talking about? Nothing's happened over the past 2 days, Tyler. Nothing of note has happened.
Atlanta footy in the past few
right.
days. But, it's wild to think that here we are, a week almost removed from Tata Martino being hired back at Atlanta United. And that at the moment is not the biggest story in Atlanta. Right. That is insane. But guys, it's been a busy 72 hours, I would say, 96, whatever hours. What are y'all's initial thoughts as we get ready to get Tommy in here too?
Initial thoughts? What a big time for another big event, guys, for Atlanta soccer. We got World Cup, obviously, Tata coming back. And now NWSL coming to Atlanta. It wasn't a matter of if, but a matter of when. And that when will be in 2028. And Tyler, I know you were at the kickoff event on Tuesday night in West Midtown. I was going to say Buckhead. Is that Buckhead or West Midtown?
No, this was West Midtown.
West Midtown.
Every bit of West Midtown.
Okay. So, yeah, exciting times again in Atlanta. And like you said, Tata Martino is not the big story. Well, it is a big story. It really introduced the media Thursday morning. Reintroduced, I should say. But, yeah, NWSL coming to Atlanta. Great times. Big times for Atlanta soccer, gentlemen. Can't wait.
Henry, Tommy, how are y'all feeling?
I mean, wow. I think we figured this would be a busy off season in Atlanta, but I don't think we figured it would go to this level. I'm very happy as a soccer fan in Atlanta, that all this is happening. I mean, Tata, obviously great for the city, great for Atlanta United. Having an NWSL team is fantastic. That means we get more soccer down here, and that's fantastic. We're going to get into it a little bit more later in the episode, but Atlanta is a hotbed for soccer and is making a real case to be the soccer capital of the United States. So
already is, Henry. Come on, already is.
You're tripling down.
Forgot to mention
I'm just excited, man.
To Atlanta too.
That's the bottom line. I'm really excited.
Tommy,
are you excited?
Well, it's a welcome the NWSL to Atlanta Wednesday. It's really what it is. I mean, was it on anyone's radar? Like, did Sunday just come and it was out of nowhere?
So I'll
were
tell
you
you
holding out on me?
I'll tell you how it went down for me. I got an email that day and I was like, it was like, hey, we're inviting you to cover this Empower Her event.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a really random time.
Yeah.
Just random out of the blue event to be invited to by AMBSE. And I'm like, man, this would be really, really cool if we had a team here in Atlanta that played the sport that I cover. And maybe it would make sense for me to go. And an hour later, the leak happened, and I was like, I knew my spidey senses were tingling.
Right. That trick leg was kind of going crazy on you, letting you know that something was going on.
It was shaking.
Yeah. But no.
What was the team that was announced last time? What was the last team that got announced? I think it was last year.
Denver Summit or Boston Legacy, one of those.
I think it was Denver.
I think it was Denver too.
Yeah.
Because Boston, I think, was 2 years ago because there was a lot of controversy on the name.
Oh yeah, that whole blow up. Yeah,
Boss Nation.
Yeah, and the promotion that went along with it. So kind of glad Atlanta just kind of launched it with no controversy whatsoever.
And the 17th franchise, that's super cool. There,
he knew what he was doing.
Well, and so here in Cleveland, they've been trying to get an NWSL team here for a while. They've even been talking about building a stadium, and they missed out on the Denver. Like, they were a finalist for Denver. I really thought that was going to Cleveland, and then it got really quiet here for a little bit. There hadn't been talk of another franchise coming in, at least from what I was reading. And then Cleveland actually ended up saying, we're just going to go get another league's team. We'll start a team in another league, and we'll go from there. But like, I didn't hear anything else about it. So Sunday, while I'm watching football and get that alert, I'm like, this is really awesome. This is amazing. Arthur's done it again.
Yeah.
Another reason for you to move to Atlanta, Tommy.
I know. Let the kids graduate from high school. And
Yeah, there you go.
We're just
Yeah,
chalking
I
up
got
the
2 years
regret
left.
here.
Hey.
I got 2 years.
Retired to the South.
I guess so. Really quick, Tommy, you had mentioned that you had something that you wanted to monologue possibly about none other than Mr. Arthur Blank himself.
Yeah, like Arthur's gotten a lot of criticism over the past couple years because of the Falcons being terrible, Atlanta United being pretty bad over the past couple of years. And I was curious how the fans were going to react to it. And they reacted, a lot of them, a lot of people, especially in the soccer community, which is what a lot of people that listen here have rejoiced and been happy. And then there was the other side of the Falcons group. And like, look, if you're a Falcons fan, you've been, I think I'm the main Falcons fan of this group here that lives in Cleveland, which makes sense. But they've been hurt, they've been beat down. And all I saw were a bunch of negative things being said about Arthur. He can't even handle the Falcons franchise here.
Yeah.
And look, when an owner really ever gets brought up is when things usually go bad, or you see him when he wins a Super Bowl.
Yep.
And I this morning I woke up to a lot of tweets of people defending Arthur here, and like, Arthur beyond sports, like this guy, I saw someone say like that he is Atlanta. He is a big part of Atlanta.
Yeah.
You look at just things that he's done in general. You know, the donation to the Children's Hospital. I think it was like 200 million that he gave to the Children's Hospital. And over the past couple months, he gave 50 million to the HBCU scholarship fund. Gave money for one of the hurricanes that came around. And like, this guy is a pretty good guy, and what he continues to do in the sports world. I mean, obviously the Falcons building Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which is one of the best stadiums in the world from people that we've heard from, and we're going to hear more from it in the World Cup as it comes here. But with bringing Atlanta United here, and then bringing this, like I said, completely out of nowhere, where I know there's been a hunger for a women's team to come here, but you really hadn't heard much about it recently. And then just out of nowhere, this team's coming in here. It's fantastic. It's fantastic for the community, for kids, especially. Like when you think about this, and maybe it's just because I'm the old one here with kids, oldest one here with kids. But like, if you have a team here, and you get these young kids that are able to see Atlanta United or whatever this women's team is, it can inspire future players in this area, and it's just going to continue to grow. So it's fantastic, and I just love the reaction from the soccer universe of Atlanta, just being so excited for this, because it will, in a couple of years, the hype is going to be crazy. And what I'm most excited about is that doubleheader. That doubleheader that they will eventually be doing, where I'm like, you know what? I'm flying in, and I'm going to go see 3 hours of soccer. Fantastic. Just set me in the Benz, bring me a pillow, because I don't want, if I'm gonna be sitting for 3 hours, I need a nice little butt cushion, because
you're old. That's right.
Yeah, exactly. But I am going to enjoy myself for that doubleheader, and just hey, you know what? I mean, you could have everyone come into the stadium and enjoy it.
What about those doubleheader live shows at the Signia?
Wow.
Yeah.
That would be planning for 2028. I like it.
Hey, you never start too early. Go ahead. Go ahead, and then I'll get.
No, I was going to say, Tommy, you mentioned, the inspiration that it will have for people around the area. Jordan, saying in the chat here on YouTube or on Facebook, watching on Facebook, saying, his daughter, 8-year-old daughter, was saying, that could be me one day, Daddy, talking about, I'm assuming, the video. And, Jordan saying she has a club. And I'm sure Jordan is just one of many parents out there watching us, listening to us, who are excited about this process, because their daughter, or even their sons, let's be honest, even their sons can rally around this team. And, Tyler, I know, I mean, you have a daughter who I think she'll be 6 when 2028 rolls around. Tommy, you have kids. But yeah, this is just an inspiration to really specifically younger women. But then kind of tying it back to your initial point, Tommy, about Arthur Blank, just the team saying in the chat, just funding U.S. Soccer headquarters. And then I think it was Kevin saying, is he the Bruce Wayne, but an older version? And but no, Arthur Blank's fingerprints are all over this city. It's incredible. I mean, you can criticize him as an owner. You can criticize, the fact that the Falcons may be bad or all that, but you can't criticize him for how much he cares about a city that he isn't even from. I mean, he's from New York, obviously moved here, to start the Home Depot. But since then, and even beyond that, his fingerprints have just been all over the city, and it's just incredible. And I don't think that he will spare any expense to make this women's team at NWSL a success in the league. Looking forward to seeing how that materializes. And we've got some hints, Tyler, even Tuesday night of what that might look like.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, to all those points.
Yeah.
Let's clap. Let's clap for Arthur real quick, everyone. Come on. I mean,
for sure.
You're in the car right now, and don't
clap.
take your hands off
If
the
you're
wheel.
driving.
Stop your leg or pull over.
Guys on the road.
Over the person next to you.
Yeah,
Henry,
exactly.
you didn't clap it.
Here.
I need a little bit more enthusiasm, Henry. Come on, do it. Come on.
No, I already clapped. I clapped with y'all.
Clap
Yeah,
again.
it was-
I'm
Clap
clapping.
again then.
That was all right.
There we
That
go.
was the aggressive one. All right.
All right.
Tyler.
No, Mayor Dickens kind of said a similar line to this last night at the event, but I'll just paraphrase it, I guess, in my own way. But
Yeah.
Atlanta is not what it is today without Arthur Blank, period.
Yep. Mhm.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no arguing it. The amount of money and time that man and his family and his organization have put into this city, it is not where it is today. It's not even where it was 10 years ago. This has been going on for a long time.
Yeah.
It is very largely due to Arthur. Think about the things that he puts his money into that, I mean, he's not going to see a return on. That's not what he's worried about.
Right.
I mean, he was put in a very blessed position where he was able to build this empire, and now he gets to use it to give back. And more power to him, more power to his family.
Yeah.
If it weren't for him, we wouldn't be doing this right now. So,
Yeah.
the reception for him last night was off the chain, and I love that. I love how much folks just see him and say, dude, I'm so glad that he's the guy that's here helping make all these things happen. So,
Yeah.
You look at the numbers, right? I was talking with Doug last night. I think he put it in his article. We knew the 165 million franchise fee, essentially. And then on top of that, and I'll get into a little bit more of it in a minute with everything I learned from being there, but another essentially almost 165 million going on top of that as like startup costs. So you're talking completely new hires, right? They made it a point, very, very blatant and specific, to say, we are not trying to take pieces of Atlanta United and use them kind of between the two. They're hiring an entirely new club, scouts, obviously coaching staff, front office staff, media, all the stuff that you see and don't see, that's all new, right? And they want it to be very specific to the women's game, not just soccer.
Mhm.
Like, they want it to be absolutely a purpose-built facility, purpose-built, staff, everything. So 165 other essentially million going into trying to build
Pocket
this up.
change.
Yeah, just a little bit. He's not taking it lightly. And, one of the things that he said last night was him and Jessica Berman, commissioner of NWSL, said that, going back to like the Falcons and what they've done for player safety and player health and putting the resources and the money into like research behind, helmets, technology, everything else to try to keep football players safer, that a lot of that has come from Arthur Blank and AMBSE. And they're going to be putting money into this NWSL Atlanta team, which is also going to benefit the NWSL as a whole, to focus on women's health. And they use the example of, at no point has there ever been research really done into what it means for a woman in any sport, any kind of professional athlete, to go and have a child and then go back to trying to compete at that same level, and what that does to their body and everything else. So there's little things like that you don't think about that they have already thought about, and they've had the ball rolling on this for a long time. Of course, the announcement was last night, but this is not just a thing that happened last night. This has been being prepared, and it will continue to be prepared all the way up until they kick the ball in 2028.
And just a level of investment, just period. Gonna kind of tease this. Tyler and I had a conversation with Party Cattree from CBSSports.com, and one of the ownership that she brought up was Michelle Kang of the Washington Spirit, and just the level of investment that she has put into that team. Where prior to that, the ownership was just, for lack of a better term, just horrible, and just all sorts of things going on with that ownership group. And Michelle Kang has really put her money where her mouth is, as it comes to investing in that club. She has interests in soccer, both men's and women's soccer around the world. But ever since she's come on the board, come on board with the Washington Spirit, just the morale, just the attitudes around the Washington Spirit have changed. And Arthur Blake's doing the same thing. There are other owners, of course, across the league, guys, but when it comes to overall investment, he's just really, again, put his money where his mouth is. And maybe the results won't hopefully the results are there, guys. Hopefully the results are there, but you can't say that Arthur Blake doesn't care. And I hope that when he hands the keys over to Josh Blank will have the same level of involvement, same level of investment, same level of passion that his father does.
Well, Arthur Blank did all of this because of Josh. This was, Atlanta United and this investment in growing soccer here in Atlanta. That was what Arthur did because Josh loves soccer, right? And so that for me is a great sign that when Arthur takes a step back, right, that Josh is going to ultimately, step forward and continue his father's legacy and his father's work in the soccer community. And that makes me excited, and the other thing is that Arthur Blank, in his letter to Atlanta United supporters that was released, I believe, like right after the season ended, kind of acknowledging, of course, that the season wasn't
a week before some news came out.
Right.
Thinking, oh no, the letter has come down.
Apart from saying obviously that the results were not, what they were expecting or what fans deserved, he also made a point to mention that, he's putting in the money necessary, right? The resources necessary to make sure that, Atlanta United and soccer as a whole can grow here, and to bring, I believe the exact wording was to bring world-class soccer to the city of Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And he's been doing that. And, next summer, we're going to have tons of world-class soccer with the World Cup. This summer, we had some world-class soccer in the Club World Cup. And so he's delivering on that promise. And this, bringing an NWSL team to Atlanta, that is part of that as well. So I'm very excited. And again, cannot express enough just how thankful I am that Arthur Blank is as involved in growing the game here as he is.
And he cares. Like he was at Brad Guzan's last game, saying obviously, saying goodbye to him. Class act there. I mean, I think a lot of owners might not even know that they own an MLS team here, let alone know the players' names. He's there for almost every Falcons game. You see him on the sideline with the Suns now. I mean, on the sideline. It's nice to have someone that cares. Now, I know there's Rich McKay. There's somewhere around here that's probably listening. But I mean, that's been the question is some of the choices that he's made that to run some of this. But look, it's going to end up working out here eventually. So Connie, don't worry, it'll be okay. It's going to
Our
be
good
okay. So
friend and ardent Rich McKay supporter, Connie.
Yeah.
she's one of the
Stop by
first
very
ones in
early.
the chat.
She had plans
Yeah.
during the live show, so she
I
to get
had a
in
joke
there
about
very
making a
early.
T-shirt that says by Rich McKay, Connie.
I don't think that'll go
there.
over well.
No.
We may get in a teeny bit of trouble there.
Yeah.
It's just
Rich and I text all the time. He wouldn't
Actually,
I don't want to get any bad.
Your
bad
best
text
buds with
from
Rich.
Actually, it's a little bit different, I think, but we won't go into that.
so
Started it though.
I want to hit on two things really quick. One is going to be kind of touching back on something Tommy was talking about, but two, I'm just going to kind of throw out the things that we do know at this point about this team and this club and kind of where they're at. But you talked about Tommy about having kids and what this means for the community more so than just another professional sports team. This, in my opinion, this is like, so we're in what I would refer to as the modern era. I put it in my article last night, but like the modern era of Atlanta soccer, because there is history. There is history in Atlanta soccer. If you haven't, go listen to Longshore's podcast where he goes into like the deep dives of history of Atlanta soccer. It goes all the way back. Super fascinating. But we are now in an era where, things have been tried before. They fell apart for a variety of reasons. And we're now in a more stable situation, both with MLS and NWSL, and of course, US soccer. So you have literally every type of soccer you could want to watch here in the city of Atlanta, which is great. I remember like my three boys, two of them are older, two of them were born before 2014 when the event that happened last night happened for Atlanta United, that reveal, right? And they've been able to grow up and they've had their favorite players. They've been able to watch, it's because of them that I ended up coaching and all this other stuff. Like soccer literally became our life because of this team. And then we have Stella, who's the youngest.
Yeah.
And I mean, look, she goes and she has a blast at Atlanta United games, like whether it's bad for the team or not, like whether they're not playing well or not. She just loves the atmosphere, right? But she catches on to things. Like she does the Saba time thing, which I think is hilarious at 3 years old. But now like she has something more familiar that when she gets to that age in 2028, when they first kick a ball, she has something more familiar to look up to. And, going back to Arthur and AMBSE and everything else, like they do a great job of vetting the type of people that are going to represent their organizations. Yeah. We always hear about the background checks, right? And all this kind of stuff. You're going to have role models playing for this team. And as a parent with a baby girl, that makes me happier than I think any of it, because whatever role model she latches onto outside of her family, I want it to be worth it. And I think this organization has shown that they've put the things in place to where they're not going to just go get somebody because they might be a phenomenal talent, but a crappy person.
Yeah.
They've made it a point, right? So from a personal perspective, I love that. And I love the fact that, now she gets to have like her own quote unquote Atlanta United to look at as she gets older. So that's my personal story. I've told that story a couple times over the past like 24 hours, but because it just, I don't know, it means a lot to me, man. Like, as a parent. But from like a fan perspective, I think there's like so many questions floating around right now. Like, where are they going to train at? What's going to happen to the bins? What's the name going to be? All this other stuff. And yeah, Kevin, Stella is a homegrown player, 2038. Let's go.
Never too early to start Project Alex Morgan.
Right.
Exactly. Get her going now. She's already out there kicking a ball every time we go to the soccer field. So
nice.
This is the list from the article over on scarfsandspikes.com, and we will be updating things. Articles are going to be going up. We're going to be covering this team just like we do Atlanta United. So, obviously 2028 kickoff, no surprise there. They are building a purpose-built facility for the women's team, and I will touch on something about that in a minute, but this is not going to be like we're throwing an add-on to Atlanta United's building. This is a purpose-built thing for the women's team. Mercedes-Benz Stadium is going to be updated to accommodate the women's team. As far as details specifically, don't know yet, but there are going to be changes happening at the Benz, which is great.
Right.
I mentioned earlier, tons of hiring going on, and that is from every part of a club. Everything you can think of is all going to be, new, specific to the women's team. Talked about the NWSL working with Atlanta to kind of further research for women's health. Lots more women's specific community focuses. So, you think about what they do here and then out in Montana. They're going to be doing more of that kind of stuff they do it now for kids in general, but they're going to be doing a lot more for girls, which is great. And then Martha Blank did say that the fans will be, quote unquote, heavily involved in naming the club.
Yeah.
I've seen it floated around. The team cannot be called Atlanta United Women because MLS technically has some rights to the Atlanta United name because it's in that organization. So they can't just come out. But I think it would be wild for them to not come out and get something similar, kind of like how Orlando City and Orlando Pride, you have the lion that kind of connects them all. I mean, I've seen names pop up. It was about 9 months from the time that Atlanta United was announced till they were named. And as John pointed out this morning on Soccer Down Here, in about 7 to 9 months, we have a pretty freaking big event coming here to Atlanta. So that might be a really good time to announce the name for the women's team.
What's going on in 7 months?
Something about, I don't know, just thinking about World Cup or whatever. One last thing, and then I'll let y'all jump in. Atlanta United trains at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Ground. At the moment, their property takes up about 30-something acres. And, of course, they had the expansion that was just built, just finished.
Right.
That was just to the building itself. They already have tons of pitches, training pitches, everything else. We've always kind of suspected there is a plot of land kind of next to it that is covered in trees and almost like swampy. And we're like, oh, that'd probably be a great place for a women's training ground one day. Well, this is speculation that it could go there. However, common sense would say, and after looking, Atlanta United Football Club, LLC, does own another 17.5 acres attached to the current property. And it has its own easement / what would be a driveway that comes up on the backside of the current Atlanta United training ground. So
interesting.
I would imagine that would be where this building would go. I don't know for sure. I just think it would be wild for them to put it somewhere else when they already have the property right there. So I know that's been asked a lot. That is my speculation at this point in time on November 12th, 2025.
Do your real estate searches today and start the speculation. I want to, Tyler, hit on one quick thing. I know we are going to be welcoming Lorian here shortly, who, by the way, played in NWSL in his very early days. I'm sure we'll ask her about that here in a little bit. But I want to hit on the point you mentioned about hiring, because we've seen the scandals around NWSL, around bullying, and just the toxicity around some clubs. Obviously, the big scandal of the big situation involving Paul Riley. It's just going to be so important, to your point about hiring, that the right people are brought in. And I would hope that this club or this organization does absolutely beyond due diligence to make sure we don't get a situation like what happened with Paul Riley, because it was just terrible. It just left a big black eye on the league, and the collateral damage is still being, cleaned up as we speak, and the effects of that are still being felt around the league. Let's not have the same thing happen in Atlanta. And I would hope that Arthur Blank and his inner circle realize that it is just very important that the absolute most due diligence is done to make sure the right people are being hired for this club, not just on the technical staff, not just on the sidelines, but all throughout that building. So I just wanted to kind of touch on that because I think that's a very good point from a hiring standpoint.
Yeah, and look, leagues across all sports right now have been dealing with a lot all over
Yeah.
the place with different stories of what's been going on here. And absolutely, when you look at these franchises of anyone, it's hiring the right people, making sure at the start you get the right person. We've been talking a lot about culture with Atlanta United and how important it is to create a positive culture. And we did that for the start all the way up until you won a championship, and then it went down. It went downhill a little bit. They still won despite some culture issues that they had. But again, just like Atlanta United, when this new team comes in, you got to start off on the right track. Create that culture here, and I think with what you see from the fan base already, and you could see the excitement we talked about earlier, what you've seen on Twitter, Facebook, all of that. Still don't go on Reddit, but hopefully, I mean, you already could tell that the excitement's been here, and we've known that the want has been here, and they are in less than 24 hours. So I think that they understand, and you could tell with the Tata hire already that they understand that maybe the culture here has changed, and they're trying to get back to it. So when they're going to start off on the right track here.
Yeah, for
Stay
sure.
away, Rich McKay.
So, somebody who can touch on now both sides of this whole thing, right? This is our first episode covering men's and women's soccer in Atlanta, which is wild to me. So kind of a historical moment for us.
Another clap. Another clap. We get another clap.
But somebody who has been around and has played in the NWSL, who has been a part of the Atlanta soccer culture and the national soccer culture, is none other than Lori Lindsey. How are you? Friend of the show, Lori Lindsey.
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me. Good to be on. I'm doing really well.
So I know you were super busy lately. You have been all over the place. I want to just kick this off by asking kind of what are your initial thoughts with Atlanta getting a team, but I guess more so than that, when you see the NWSL growing as a whole, like how does that feel as somebody who was there in the early years?
Yeah, it's amazing. I think that's exactly how it feels. It's just like, okay, we've been screaming this at the top of our lungs for so long. And now it feels like more and more people are catching on. So, but yeah, to have it announced that Atlanta's going to be getting a team for 2028, right? So they actually specifically announced, it's huge because I think ultimately, yes, the sport is booming. Women's sport in general is just booming, but also when you look at the landscape specifically in the U.S., you have the training center for U.S. soccer, everything that Atlanta United's meant to the game in the United States, but also specifically in Atlanta with how successful previously Atlanta United has been until I know it wasn't a great season for you all, but regardless, we don't need to get into that. Yeah, it just makes sense, right? It really makes sense. And in a previous league, we had an Atlanta team that did and was successful. So I'm personally excited about this. And I've been to Mercedes-Benz a number of times, and yeah, it's like top class. So very looking forward to the team, even though it's a few years away, but also just loving what we're seeing in women's sport in the NWSL.
Are you at all surprised to kind of see, I would say the league, like NWSL, but the women's game as a whole, are you surprised to see kind of how much it's grown so rapidly and where it's at now?
No, I mean, like I was saying, we've been screaming this at the top of our lungs, how good the product is. It was just about people believing, it's about investments. And then obviously, Atlanta is one of those teams that you're like, hell yeah, we want you to invest in. So, no, it's not surprising, but also I love what I'm seeing, and it just continues to push in a great way. And the more eyeballs that you have on it, the more investors, the product's only going to get better because it's just the snowball effect, right? So the players are finally getting the resources that they need. This is going to be another step forward, and with their own training facility, that in of itself is massive. I mean, look at what Kansas City's done, right? And just alone, one, having their own stadium, but also just the training facility, immediately players want to be involved. They want to, that is an organization they want to play in. And I can see something similar happening with Atlanta right off the bat.
You alluded to it there, Lori, that Atlanta is a big market for soccer. It is a hotbed of soccer. I would argue it's the capital of soccer in the U.S. But, first of all, the reception to Atlanta United when it was announced over 10 years ago, massive. When they hit the field, that was a huge success. And then now international soccer, right? You got the Club World Cup was here this summer. The World Cup is coming next summer. Like, soccer is just growing. And yet we're only just now, getting this NWSL team, and it won't start until 2028. In your opinion, why didn't an NWSL team come to Atlanta sooner?
Yeah, that's a good question. I do feel like, we expected a team to come sooner, but I also think it has just been managing on like, okay, where are the investors? Who's really the major players in here that want to come in and make a play and go after it. And I am a believer all in the right timing. And we've seen obviously Boston's coming in and Denver's coming in, but I do think it feels the exact right time for Atlanta to come in, given all the reasons that you have just spoken. And also time is extremely weird, side note, because when you just said Atlanta coming in 10 years ago, I'm like, how is that? Wait, what year is it? And how's that?
I know, right?
I'm like, I had a little bit of like a bodily reaction. Like, this is so strange. But I do think it makes the perfect sense. Again, U.S. Soccer's training center is going to be down there, everything that Atlanta United has done. And so it just feels like, all right, this makes the most sense. And currently also where the NWSL is, right? It just continues. So I feel like Atlanta's now taking the NWSL to another level with them coming in.
So we talk about, of course, the World Cup in 2026 being played in the U.S., Canada, and Mexico, and we sort of associate that. We say, how can MLS, right, tap into that? But for the purposes of this conversation, how can the NWSL really tap into the momentum that the World Cup will provide next year? And then in 2027 with the Women's World Cup in Brazil, and then 2020 or 2031, it looks like it will be in North America. So how can the NWSL capture that momentum really next year, over the next couple of years here?
Yeah, well, we are taking a month off, so we'll have all of the June off. So that gives at least, viewers to be able to tap in. But I just think anytime we're hosting, obviously the success of women's soccer globally and it being in Brazil, same time, basically same time zone, maybe an hour off. But I just think the more eyeballs that are watching games, seeing games, that know about it, it translates to all soccer, regardless if it's women's soccer, whether it's men's soccer. So I do think it's just about being visible and continuously marketing, getting the investors, making sure our players are known, constantly putting faces out there, but driving plays or driving fans to games. And I think that's the biggest thing that we can capitalize on is getting that excitement of people going to the World Cup games to then post World Cup be like, yep, this is just a snowball effect for everybody. MLS, NWSL, and we've already seen that before. But I think anytime specifically in the US, you get people watching, getting people excited, and then just acknowledging or even knowing that there's a team in their backyard is consistently the path forward. So obviously Major League Soccer is a little bit different with the existence, but that is something with NWSL is like pushing that, get people to games. It is very different watching games live than it is being at those games and witnessing. them in person than it is even just watching on TV. And I'm thinking like our stars, right? Like Trinity Rodman, Barbara Banda, Schwinga. I mean, it is just bananas when you're watching them in person. So it's about getting them. Yeah.
So kind of sort of tagging off of that, it came out, Jessica Berman said today, Wednesday, that an 18th team would debut in the NWSL along with Atlanta in 2028. And we can sort of speculate where that might be. I'm sure that'll come out soon. But she's mentioned in the past potentially the structure of NWSL going to 32 teams to sort of mirror what the NFL is right now. How feasible do you think that vision is, especially looking at MLS with 30 clubs, and sort of tagging off of that, how can they sort of coexist with the USL Super League, which is another, of course, Division I league here in the US?
Well, okay, first part of that question is I'm always secretly like, Philadelphia, can we please get a team? Because I think one of the biggest things too to garner excitement is like built-in rivalries, right? If you have Gotham, Philly, right, you get a built-in DC, it's right in between. So then automatically you start to have narrative that gets fans, that gets everybody excited. So I don't know if that's going to happen, but that is always my hope. But in terms of how feasible 32 teams is, and with the WSL, the Women's Super League, listen, the landscape is massive in terms of how many young players are playing the game. And I think the key is that previously there weren't a lot of opportunities for players beyond college to be able to play. And now with more and more investment, I'm of the thinking that great, the more avenues to continue to push, to continue to drive, because the reality is, and we've seen this on the men's side too, the more successful our men's national team is, the more successful our women's national team is, that drives everything else. That drives the excitement of MLS, it drives the excitement of NWSL, and really that's how you capture fans and like the momentum of what the World Cup can potentially do. And I think that's why, side note, majority of fans also want the men's national team to do well, but also they know how important that is for the growth of the game just within our whole landscape. But yeah, going back to generally the question is, the more opportunities for young players, young female players is massive, and we want those. And I think what we're seeing mostly now too is within the NWSL, younger and younger players are coming in because of the resources that have been put in now. They've seen these players, the best players in the world, playing in NWSL. They can go to games and just say, yep, that's what I want to be doing. And that's not for everybody. So I think that's where the pathways are so important, is because you could have the Super League might be more beneficial for somebody. The NWSL might be the right pathway, coming in at a younger age or still going to college. It's just the more avenues we have for all these players, it's going to drive growth, it's going to drive competition, and it's going to just help players succeed and live out their dreams, which is ultimately what it's about. And that's only going to continue to grow the sport in such a positive way. And side note, not everybody needs to play professionally, right? But the more that you have that available for players, the more then maybe that they can enjoy just the game, and also just be like, okay, yeah, maybe I can take this to the next level, or not. I just enjoy playing at the grassroots level and go from there. But more availability, accessibility, the better, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because that's what I was going to ask you is, as you, over the years, you've seen the NHL grow significantly, and the NBA has grown. And then there's always the talk about growing too quickly and then maybe watering down the product. Is that a real concern? Because I don't even know if I feel that way about the NHL. I'm an avid NHL watcher, and they've added these teams, and it doesn't feel like they've watered down the product. But it always seems like that conversation loves to come up when you see, all right, here's 3 years, and here's 3 or 4 teams coming in. Like that might be too much too quick.
Yeah. And also I think it's like those questions are always kind of necessary, right? Just kind of looking at different, okay, is this the right markets and all that type of stuff. But I do feel like, no, the more opportunities that you have, and also I think things are always kind of changing and looking different. So do we get more international players that can come over? Do we attract because we have teams in different markets? Does that open up for some of the best European players to come over? Vice versa. Do we start to change things within the pay scale, like what pay looks like with a salary cap? So I just think it opens up for even more conversation. But specifically to your point about does it water down the product? No, I mean, I think there's we're a huge country. There's loads of players out there to play. I think what it does open up though for is one of the things that we've always really hung our hat on is parity. And I think as you grow and expand, naturally, some of that parity is going to have to just drop off, just the way naturally how everything's going to shake out. There's more and more spots, right? So it's not like condensed where you have 18 of the top players on each team and then everybody's battling out. So, but I think in ways, even when I'm saying that, I'm thinking, okay, then you start to have it East and West divisions like MLS, and then there's fighting for, and then the parity is a little bit different compared to in each division. So I think there's just ways that you're always looking to say, okay, the more opportunities, the better. And also, if parity is something that we're still feeling very strongly about, that maybe counteracts some of the not having Champions League right now or whatnot, right? Then there's ways to attract talent. There's ways to continue to build in terms of enticing players to come over if they're international players, or just continue to have that parity within our league.
You talk about salary cap, and I didn't even think about that because when we talk about the MLS salary cap and MLS roster rules, and it's enough to give you a migraine for days. So I didn't even think about learning this salary cap here. I hope it's a little easier to read.
Yes, it is. We don't have like the GAM TAM and
I'm good with no monopoly money.
like don't even ask me about it. It is, but I think that's always in conversation too, because one, naturally a salary cap does automatically give you or inherently gives you parity, right? Because you have to be able to stay under that. But then also, okay, how do you pay some of the top players that maybe we can't pay right now and they're going overseas or whatever the conversation is, right? It is something that I think is always internally ongoing and important conversations to have. And to me, all of this is just about really having a clear identity of where we want to go as a league and being proactive within that, right? Instead of, reactive in terms of like, okay, what's going on with the general landscape? Let's drive that conversation here in the NWSL more so.
And I'm sure look at the WNBA right now and what happened at the All-Star game and those conversations. And it's not, it doesn't seem like it's going very well there, but like, obviously that's something that as it continues to grow and you have more teams, you got to spend more.
Yep.
And you got to have owners and like, we've talked about this for years with the MLS. A lot of MLS owners don't want to pay their players. They like having the franchise, but they don't like spending big on the DP players here. But
well, that's why I think Atlanta is going to be really interesting because I think they'll help drive that conversation quite a bit coming in and just have another idea of, okay, this is how we keep pushing. That's what you always need is people trying to like level up, push more, pay the players and the resources they need to perform.
So that kind of ties in a roundabout way, I guess, into my next question. I feel like this was kind of an underrated, I got to give a little bit of the backstory from the event last night and talking with Arthur, but I guess AMB, it's Arthur Blank's organization, the ownership group, they've always kind of been about putting resources back into the leagues. They've done it with the Falcons, they've done it with MLS. And one of the conversations that came up last night was about evolving NWSL and improving not only the product as a whole, but like very specifically like the women's game, not just soccer as a whole, but like the women's side of it. And Jessica Berman and Arthur Blank both spoke about how they'll use AMB's resources to improve research on the women's health aspect and the example that was given,
epidemic and stuff. Yep.
Yeah. And there's like so many conversations there. And the one that was used last night was, I think NWSL, I believe Jessica Berman said there's 10 athletes right now that are in some stage of parental leave, pregnancy, whatever the case may be. And there's like no research as to how a high performing athlete can come back after having a child and reintegrate. And they want the NWSL to be kind of a leader in a lot of these topics.
Yeah.
So I say all that again, a little bit of backstory, but how does that factor into a player's decision? You talk about, bringing in international players here, not just the homegrowns, not just the folks from the US and North America, but how does that factor into a young player's decision, a young woman who is like, hey, I have options. Maybe these benefits here in the US in some ways are better as opposed to another draw like a Barcelona or wherever.
Yeah.
The health aspect, how does that factor in?
Huge. I mean, that goes just right back to the previous question I was answering about being proactive and really having a clear identity. Because more recently, we've had a lot of conversation about some of our top players, Alyssa Thompson specifically going to Chelsea, and what that means to me. I feel like this is what we've asked for, right? We've asked for opportunity. We've asked for exposure. We've asked for more ability for players to choose where they want to go. And that is an exciting opportunity for Alyssa Thompson to be able to go and play in Champions League. Because right now, we don't have Champions League, right? And that makes a lot of sense. And go for it. That doesn't feel to me with the NWSL like that is a scary thing. Of course, we want these best players because from like a personal standpoint, I think all the fans would speak to this too. And coaches, it's like, you want to be having your best players competing, but it also makes sense. And that is something we fought for. And so on the men's side, you get all these choices, right? Roan can go playing for Newcastle and come back. Like you get those choices. And again, that's what we fought for on the women's side. So it continues to go back to what I'm saying about being proactive, because this is where we can really lead in NWSL, have a clear identity. And if those are the resources that we can have available for players, then of course that's going to be a huge factor in my opinion, because one, you're going to get everything you need. You're going to be treated as a professional. You're going to have all these resources. And also the more that we have players playing for such a longer period of time, the longevity of their career, all of that research is just going to aid in the benefit of them playing for as long as they can. And the last thing I'll say about that is having Emma Hayes as our national team coach, I think has been a huge benefit, because she had a ton of resources at Chelsea. They started doing a lot of the research around like women's periods, what that looks like in terms of are players getting injured? What does their performance look like just even around their cycle? And she's brought a lot of that knowledge given the resources we have here in within the U.S. soccer umbrella. And so I think, again, that's why Arthur Blank and his what he's doing down in Atlanta, but then also being paired with the U.S. Soccer Training Center down there, it all just benefits all the women athletes, the female athletes, in the sense of like, that's how we can really be proactive and drive the game forward, is that research, just continuously leveling up, making sure it's player first, their safety. And so it's a huge factor. I think if you're doing that type of research, you're putting that out there and really giving a clear picture of what you can provide for those athletes. Massive.
I think that's, interesting that you have all that research that's helping evolve the NWSL. I want to talk also a little bit about some of the evolution that may or may not be happening with MLS. We have the report today that MLS owners could vote this week on flipping the calendar to a fall spring calendar. And then it also was in that report that potentially they could change the whole format from 2 conferences to 5 regional divisions. And then, the specifics of all that isn't quite out yet. And obviously that vote hasn't happened, but I want to ask you, because you also work with covering MLS and all, what are your thoughts on these proposed changes? Do you think that this kind of improves the product? Do you think, how does this affect things in your eyes?
Yeah, I think at this point in time for Major League Soccer and where it's been heading and where it is heading, it makes sense, right? And this is just like a small example, but we just played some amazing 3-game series, and now we're going into international break. So, and then it just stalls, in my opinion, like the momentum, right? And this isn't the first time we see it. So, and that's an easy example, but I think that's a huge example, because
this is our soapbox.
Just to be aligned with the way that the game is going on the men's side, I think that makes sense, because now we're going to international break, and then we're about to have some of the most amazing semifinal games, right? So it's just like, wait, what is happening here? So again, small example, but I think not unimportant at all in the way that you're looking at the players that we're attracting in MLS to from Europe, and just being more aligned in that regard is, and what I think all of us expect and are hoping with what this World Cup next summer could potentially do for soccer in North America is could be incredible, right? In terms of just even more, one of the biggest launch pads I think that we've seen since really probably MLS started. And so, or 94, right? Because the 94 was just huge for the trajectory of soccer in the United States specifically. But yeah, I think it feels at the right time. It feels like, we've been having these conversations for a while and everyone's like, what's going to happen? Some people see 1 foot in, 1 foot out, not sure. Some seem all in, but it does again feel kind of like the right time for, okay, that makes sense at this point in time where Major League Soccer is headed in the talent that they're attracting.
No, and I want to go back to playoffs because this is a good point. But even branching off of that, teams like Vancouver, LAFC, they've been waiting. They're going to be waiting around 3 weeks for their plans to begin, and that's detrimental to any momentum that they may have felt, not just during playoffs, but in the lead up to decision day, right?
Yeah, I do see this comment though about like, I pity the Minnesota, Toronto, Montreal. I'll tell you what, Chris Whittingham and I. Not as much this year, but he's my main partner for Major League Soccer. And we had a ton of New England Rev games. And of course, it was like almost like one of the first 3 games of the season, we were always up in New England, and it's freaking cold. So I just feel like no matter what, they're just going to have to figure out that schedule though, and just overload some of those teams, maybe in those, December, depending on when the cutoff time is before kind of that January or holiday break. And then that first month afterwards that you just have to like figure out, okay, some of those teams are just gonna have to play in more of the warmer climate cities because it's gonna be cold. I was in Cincinnati for the opener this year, which feels like 8 years ago at this point in time. Right. And it was freezing. And so there's just gonna be some times where you're just not going to get away from it. But yes, I think mostly they're just going to have to figure out kind of the situation on playing some of those colder weather teams down south or wherever that is.
Well, they kind of do it to an extent now, right? Because when Atlanta, for example, Atlanta hosted the Club World Cup this summer. And so there was a stretch of like 6 road games during that tournament where, I mean, obviously Atlanta couldn't play at home because there were games happening here. So they just gave them that 6 game away stretch. And then at the beginning of the season, for Montreal, they also had a long road stretch. I don't remember the reason off the top of my head, but they've shown that they can kind of manipulate the schedule a little bit to kind of work around obstacles. I'm certain they could do something like that.
Yeah. Especially because a lot of the teams own their stadium, right? So that's where it's a little bit different with NWSL and waiting for the schedule sometimes and working out where you can play and at what times.
2 years ago, Henry, however, Atlanta United opened in Columbus, and it was probably about 25 degrees, and I didn't feel anything the entire ride home to Cleveland. And I'll add that with Major League Baseball, like you think they would learn by now. They've been around a long time, and they always like to have the home opener in Cleveland, like the opening week, and there's always snow. There's always talk of delaying or they're moving the snow. So for MLS to change it, I don't know if they're going to pick up on it immediately because baseball's been around since double all of our lives combined. It's been around since 1700 and they haven't been able to figure it out. So I don't trust MLS in figuring that out at all.
We have to ask before we let you go, because I know we're cutting it close. Because we've gone through this and mostly spoken about the big news, which is the NWSL. And look, Atlanta United themselves had a very forgettable season.
Let's not talk. Let's not ruin the moment, Tyler. Let's not ruin the day.
But there is a glimmer of hope, and that glimmer of hope's name is Tata Martino. What are your thoughts about Tata coming back to Atlanta?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we know about Tata Martino is obviously had a lot of success when he was previously with Atlanta United. He seems to have a lot of success when there's quality talent too. I think this makes a lot of sense, and it should give you all and a lot of the fans, I think, a lot of hope. And it obviously has previous relationship with Al Marone. I think that is going to be key, because I think one of the things I think, and tell me if I'm wrong on this with you all, but it felt like the biggest challenge this season was you didn't get the best out of your top players. And I think any successful team, you have to be getting the best out of those players, especially with the investment that you have within the squad. Then you need to get those players performing at the top level. And I feel like that is what Tata Martino can bring, just like really kind of galvanize this group. I wouldn't be surprised though, looking at this team, if he's like, okay, we need to shake a few things up, particularly for the games that I called. I would say midfield, at least add somebody else in the midfield, right? That's going to like at least link play a little bit more. But with that said, I think when I saw the news, and I'm on a group text with like a lot of us that are commentators within MLS, and I think the general theme is like, yeah, okay, let's go. Because it's one of the markets that you want to be successful, right? I think, and I know Taylor's spoken about this. A lot of us had Atlanta much higher than I think everybody did, right? So disappointing to say the least, but I think now hopefully a bright light at the end of this tunnel, and hopefully Tata can get everybody going.
Please.
Yeah, please. I understand. Well, every time the game that I wasn't on, I was kind of like started to look throughout the season, being like, what's happening down there? And I've known Dave Tinney for a long time. He was my Dave is high performance, like head of, and he did a lot of my fitness when I was a player. And I mean, I wasn't talking to him on a regular basis by any means, but we do keep in touch. But I was just generally, because of that, keeping an eye on your team, and I was like, fans down there are really, really hurting.
Did not go the way.
That's
we have one more question.
Yeah,
there you go. 30 degrees.
I would pick 95 degrees at night when the sun's gone down, because that is the key. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was the spirit of the question here. it was you're miserable in both worlds. Which one do you want to be more miserable in?
I was a sweater, and so I probably would have been passed out by that time. At like 20 minutes into 95 degrees,
Right.
That's why I needed the sun to come down. And
100%.
Yeah.
Lori, we appreciate it. You're welcome back anytime. But we appreciate you hopping on with us, and I'll have to get you on definitely more, because like we said right before you hopped on, this is our first official men's and women's soccer podcast now that the announcement has actually been made. So.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, let's definitely do it again. It's always a pleasure. Thanks for having me, and appreciate the conversation.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Lori.
Yeah, thanks. Have a great night.
See ya.
Have a good one. Bye.
Bye. We talk about the weather, and I immediately made me think about that United States game in Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah.
Cincinnati or Columbus, where like you were like, someone's gonna die. Someone is going to die on this field or get hypothermia, anything. Like, because I think about that now, because I know the tweet came out about the MLS that they're going to be voting on the schedule change here. And I've been in arguments with MLS moves because he's super for this, and there's pluses and minuses of both. But man, when you get towards there's just some years, especially in the East up here, where it gets miserable quick. And you get to December, like whatever that cutoff line is going to be, probably in December. Oof, you better hope. But I do love snow games. Especially when I'm not there.
Running in the cold sucks. Like,
it does.
And I'm not like a professional athlete, but I would much rather run, even though it's hot and you're sweating like crazy. Would much rather be running when I can breathe somewhat normally. Man, you get out there in that cold weather and your lungs start to hurt, and it sucks. It sucks.
So real quick, yes or no to the schedule change? And yes, there will be some logistic changes that need to be made. And yes, it gets cold in the north, all things like that. I say yes, I'm for it. If nothing more, to align it with the European soccer or European transfer market. So for that alone, I feel like I'm for it. You're never going to get a perfect system, right, guys? Let's be honest. But I think I'm leaning for it rather than against it. What do you guys think? Henry, what do you think, for or against?
I'm with you. I'm for the schedule change. You mentioned the transfer market. That's certainly a big aspect. I mean, we've had several cases where teams aren't able to get signings over the line because these players that are in Europe, with the European season about to start in the summer, like they maybe want to wait out their chances, or in the winter, when that's MLS's primary window, clubs don't really want to sell because that's the middle of their season. And so it's a whole thing. And then
Yeah.
if you are an MLS team and the European clubs really want to buy in the summer because their seasons are about to start, well, you're in the middle of your season, right, in MLS, and that is a huge inconvenience. So I think aligning that definitely gives the best chance of getting the best players possible to coming to the league. Kind of eliminates that headache in that sense. I also think if you can line it up with the international breaks so that we don't have to play through freaking international breaks with a bunch of players missing.
Really playoffs, right?
Yeah, that would be fantastic. And so
Yeah.
obviously there's a lot of logistics to work out there,
Yeah.
but I am for it as of right now.
Tommy, did you say you're for or against? I couldn't say. I couldn't tell.
I don't like it.
What do you think?
I don't. I like the positives of what you
Hater.
guys say. I think is spot on. But when I look at MLS and I look at its popularity, okay, like it feels like MLS is like a real like, hey, are you an MLS fan? Cool, we're in this secret club together. And this is a problem. This is a problem with Apple TV as well, is that it's hidden here. But when you look at what it's going to be competing with, and look, I know you're going to compete, at certain times of the season, but in the summer, it's MLB, the WNBA,
Yeah.
and MLS. Like that you have it. So it's almost kind of like you've got a very large part of your a large part of your schedule. I'm going to say it again, a large part of your schedule. I understand the playoffs come at the worst time. I didn't get to watch
Right.
MLS Cup because I was at the Big Ten championship game
Yeah,
last
yeah.
year. So I understand that there's some issues here. But when you want to like basically own a certain part of your year and really take fans into it, that's a great time. Like the summer is a perfect time to say this is it. Like we're gonna plan our road trips. It's probably gonna be
Mhm.
beautiful. And this part here, I'm not gonna like supporters aren't gonna be like, yeah, let's go to Columbus and early December to go see our team play. Like there
Right.
are some. I just don't know how great it is going to be because again, when you're starting, when's the schedule supposed to start? Around?
Possibly 2027.
2027 is when they're
Well, no, I
proposing.
mean, like, what month would it start?
July, August.
August or July.
August. Yeah. That's all we know at this point. So
And they also did say in the report that it's like it will go from like August, July to like early to mid December, and then they will have a break until I believe like February or something like that.
Yeah, they said there's no games in January.
yeah. And they want to avoid competing with the Super Bowl, so it could be like the third week of February or something like that where it starts back. But yeah. A lot of eyes.
Then again, that's the thing,
crossed,
right?
yeah.
If you are cutting out that much time, right? You're cutting out 2 months, a little bit over 2 months,
Mhm.
then that kind of tightens your calendar for the rest of the season. If you're planning to have MLS Cup in May, is what I
Yeah.
saw, right? So you can have that 2 month summer break. That's going to tighten things up a lot. So again, I'm not sure how they'll figure that out, but that vote is happening tomorrow apparently. So
What do you think, Tyler? For or against?
Overall, I'm for it. I definitely, obviously, there's pros and cons, right? But I think ultimately, from like a selfish personal perspective, I enjoy, the going to the cold weather games and not like sweating all day and then being able to go and get like a beer after and like enjoying it. You get to go in some like nice, warm, cozy bar after and like you can talk about the game or cry or whatever, depending on what season it is. But that's because we live in the South. And even like, look, the moment in July when we're walking to the bins to go to the press box
Oh my gosh.
and that door opens and that AC hits you,
Oh my
oh
word.
man, dude, it slaps. Like, but that's the thing. It's hot, man, and there's no way to please everybody here.
Yeah.
The United States and, to be fair, Canada, because this is in Canada as well.
Mhm.
You're not going to have a perfect time of the year, and so I think long term, I think
Yeah.
it actually does benefit the league. I just think it's going to take some getting used to. There's definitely factors like Chris saying, that's during the school year, so there's definitely going to be some family stuff. Hopefully, though, this would cut out as many of the howdy, Jeffrey. This would cut out as many of the midweek games. Maybe you can schedule things a little bit better to where you don't have to have Wednesday night games and things like that, unless it's for a different competition. It'll also throw an interesting wrench into things like Open Cup and the schedule with the Open Cup and all that. So,
CONCACAF Champions Cup, Leagues
Yeah.
Cup. How does the scheduling of that work? Because
Yeah.
CONCACAF Champions Cup starting in like the middle of the season now
Mhm.
instead of at the beginning. It's kind of awkward. Open Cup gets squished in there too.
That's good though. You're
Yeah.
in peak form. Well, maybe
And
because you're
that's
coming back from a break.
that's
Yeah.
the
Also,
weird
you're
thing.
coming back from your Christmas vacation. There,
Right.
I
We're
just
complaining
don't
about a
know.
3-week break in the playoffs. How about a 2.5
Yeah.
month break for just in the middle of the season?
Well, and that's the thing. Like when you have momentum, talk about like, Atlanta's going to win every game right before that winter break. You know that's how,
Yeah.
we know how it works. We
Yeah.
know how it works here. But that large break, like you hope that your team's like not 0-8 because you're just not going to come back after the winter break. Be like that's it. I've enjoyed these 2
Yeah.
month and a half without them. Guys, I don't know. We might have just got a leak on what the team name is.
What do you mean?
I don't know. I don't know if this is a leak or not. Or is it going to
What?
be the Mariah Careys here?
I don't know.
They just posted this.
I have no idea.
Come on.
I don't know. I don't know. That's pretty
I was
funny.
trying to figure out like what this is cryptic. What is going on
Yeah.
here?
She's
It's Mariah
defrosting.
Carey.
Yeah.
At this point, she's
It's a
already
defrosting.
defrosted, hasn't she?
Right.
It said it's time. That's what it said on the tweet.
Clever. So, guys, do you have something else, Tommy? Or
No, as I say, what else do we have to talk about, Tata?
real quick, what are you guys expecting from this press conference tomorrow morning or Thursday morning? What do you want to hear from him? What's like one statement you want him to say that will get you on board for 2026 and 2027, Tommy? You have your hand up. Tommy first, because he has his hand up first, and then Henry, and then I guess Tyler. And then
If
I'll
it
go
was
last.
me, if I'm
Yeah.
Doug, and they said to me, they said, Tommy, the new Doug, well, what do you have? My question would be like, first, welcome back, Tata. Now, can you please let me know why is Joseph Martinez at the dentist in Atlanta? Tina found the candle for me, guys.
Nice. Nice.
She found the candle. I brought it out just in case.
Yeah.
But we are on dentist watch, Tata. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? But again, welcome back.
Friend of the show, Between Clean Sheets, theorized that he may live out of town, but his dentist lives in Atlanta. Maybe he just flew out because he trusts him. It's something like that. I could be totally misquoting her, but
I mean,
You
he
don't change
definitely
dentists
has
with
the
everybody.
money to fly out
Listen.
once or
Yeah.
twice a year for his dentist appointments in Atlanta, right?
Yeah. It might have been more than an appointment, though. But we don't know.
Who knows?
Maybe he owns part of it. Maybe he liked his dentist so much he threw
Right,
some
he
money
just bought
into
it up.
Right. Could be.
Yeah.
What do I want to hear from Tata in this press conference? How about Miggy is a 10? How about that?
Right.
Thank you, Henry, for pushing this for the past past
exactly.
year for me.
Geez,
Beating
man.
that
I mean,
drum.
I feel like this is a thing that really any coach should know, but Miggy played the 10 before here in Atlanta, and if anyone knows that, it's Tata, because he played him at the 10. He played him at several other positions, mostly the 10 and then second striker next to Joseph, specifically in that playoff run in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of want to know what his plan for Miggy is, because he is a different player now, in some sense, right? Like this past season, he played mostly as a winger, but he can obviously play as a 10. He's shown creativity in the middle of the pitch. he's been tried as a second striker next to Latte Lott, and that's been kind of work, kind of not work, not really. I mean, what did work this season, honestly? So yeah, I'm interested to see kind of how he sees Miggy as a player now compared to 2017 and 18, and how that's going to potentially shape his tactical vision for this squad.
Yeah. My question is going to be, as long as it makes sense to ask it at the time, after I'm sure plenty of other questions and context already being given, but if it were right now and I were asking Tata anything, it would be, what are and how do you navigate the challenges in fixing this team during the off season between 25 and 26 compared to how you essentially built the team back in 2016, 2017? Because this is a different ball game, right? This is you don't have extra GAM and extra roster. Not really extra, but lesser roster restrictions because you were an expansion team at the time. Like, how do you navigate this whole thing? So we'll see, because I mean, the thing is he's done it at other places. So I'm not like super concerned that he's just going to be like, I don't know. The guy's been successful wherever he goes. He went to Miami on the tail end of their disciplinary actions for breaking roster rules and still made it work. So we'll see, but I just want to hear from him. Like, how do you un-F this situation?
Yeah. I want to hear what his plan is for younger players. I feel like no coach has really, outside of maybe here and there, and certainly Wiley and Bell are among the exceptions here, you really have had a coach who's really all in on the Atlanta United youth. Yeah, I'll throw out Jay Fortune, I'll throw out Will Riley, I'll throw out Luke Brennan. Those are the three that I'm thinking about right now. How do they play into your vision of Atlanta United? Because these are players that, if given the right coaching, if given the right opportunities with the first team like Luke had in 2025, I mean, out of really necessity to some extent, but the opportunities he had, opportunities that Jay has had before his injury, opportunities that even Will Riley got a little bit later in the year, how do you factor them in to the first team? Because that hasn't always happened, right? And that didn't really happen to a great extent during his first couple of years, his first time with Atlanta United. That's one of the things that I want to hear. Ronnie Dyla, to his credit, said, we want to build this team around the homegrowns. Obviously didn't get a chance to really see his vision played out, more or less, but I hope that Tata at least realizes, hey, these aren't just bargaining chips. These aren't just trade assets. These aren't just players that can be shipped off to Europe after a couple of years, right? These are players that can be part of this team's resurgence. And I would love to really see him lean into that aspect. And I would love to hear what his plan is. But yeah, like you were saying, Tyler, or like we were saying earlier, you're not building a team from the ground up. You're coming into a mess, and you gotta, it's not your responsibility, your sole responsibility to clean up that mess. But I mean, you're the coach. You're going to be in the technical area. You're going to be working with these guys on the training ground. So yeah, that's sort of the question that I want to hear answered, at least to some extent. If it's asked.
Yeah.
Feels like 2020 or 2024. 2016, 2017, 2018, all over again.
Yeah.
Talking about Tata Martino. It's insane.
It is wild.
Insane.
We have that press conference in the morning, which I believe they're streaming it, but we will have coverage on scarfsandspikes.com. So y'all go check that out. We also will have our NWSL Atlanta coverage going forward. Already a few articles up there. You can check it out. It's on the homepage, but we do have a section specifically for it that'll be getting updated and edited here very soon. But yeah, 2 teams to cover. Totally. Yep. And it's such a blessing. It's super awesome. Super excited. In the near term, yeah, Tata Martino, and I'm sure roster decisions are going to be coming relatively soon. So we'll be covering all that. We'll be chatting about it, and anything with the women's team that pops up, we'll be covering that as well. And yeah, patreon.com/scarves and spikes. We weren't able to get to this earlier, but patreon.com/scarves and spikes. Y'all go join, helps us out. And you get extra content, extra insight, all kinds of extra things. We have some year-end reviews for players that we've kind of gone into and given our opinions about and kind of how they performed throughout the season. So lots of content there, and gets you into our Discord and our watch-alongs when we're doing those. So again, patreon.com/scarves and spikes. And while you're at it, on the website, go jump into the shop. We're going to have some new stuff coming soon, but get you guys a coffee mug, a hoodie, since it's freaking cold, at least at nighttime right now.
Don't tell me it's cold up there.
No. It's cold for us. All right.
It's cold.
What
It's
is
cold.
it? What is
cold.
it?
Huh?
Well,
What
it's
is it
like
right
in
now?
the 20s.
Right
well,
now it's
today it's
cold.
in the 50s, 60s. So
It got
It's
down to
still cold.
24 two
Yep.
nights ago, though.
yeah,
Okay, that's cold.
Right now it's 50.
yeah, that's cold. Yeah,
It's 40 here in Cleveland, so we got a little warm,
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
here.
yeah.
Yeah, y'all go
All right.
get you some stuff. We appreciate all the support, and
Yeah.
look, we're gonna be busy, but we're gonna keep doing it. We're gonna keep bringing you guys the news.
Couple more, just one or a couple of quick things before we go here. I mentioned the interview we did with Pardeep Khatri, Tyler and I did from CBSSports.com. That'll be on our YouTube channel if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeart. If you are listening, consider liking and subscribing on YouTube. And if you're listening, leave us a review. We definitely do appreciate your reviews, your feedback about Scarves and Spikes. And again, like, subscribe on Facebook, as Tyler said. Go to scarvesandspikes.com, patreon.com/scarves and spikes. And yeah, we'll be head first into Atlanta United, of course, this offseason, but then NWSL Atlanta. So exciting times here in the ATL. And of course, this is what they call the World Cup in 2026, guys. Let's not forget about that. So that's
Just a
coming-
small thing.
Yeah, little thing, little tournament. So yeah, that's coming up as well.
Yeah.
I am at SH Rights on X and Blue Sky, ZH.soccer, everywhere else.
I always forget there's Blue Sky. I got
There is
the app
Blue
on my
Sky.
phone, and I always forget to click it.
Yeah.
I'll click it
Where,
today.
where are you on social media, by the way, Tommy?
Let's go NWSL at Tommy.
At Tommy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tommy. I have my own platform now.
You're on social media platform. Where are you, Tyler, on social media?
ATL Pilgrim for me.
Henry,
At
where are you on
HA
social
Higita
media?
for me.
Scarves
There
the letter and spikes on X, scarvesandspikes.com on Blue Sky, Scars and Spikes everywhere else, Instagram, Threads, and Facebook.
Go
Thanks,
check it
everyone.
out. And
Appreciate you.
yeah, we appreciate Lori Lindsey as well hopping on with us, chatting again. First ever MLS/NWSL show that we've done.
But
fact
not the
that we can say
last.
that, and not the last. The fact that we can say that is super awesome. So
More to come.
more to come. And we will see you guys for MLS Monday.
Peace.
Tommy got the mute.
Oh, why? I think it's the first
I
to
don't know.
talk.
There
Am
you
I
go.
back?
Now go. Go ahead. You're
I
back.
got an alert on my phone at
Go.
8:09 p.m. It was from Atlanta, asking me if I wanted to do a $50 deposit.
For
Do
what?
you want to do a $50 deposit?
But what do you think? What do you think?
Okay, I got it. I thought you were talking about gambling or something. I forgot
So
the,
someone actually. So that number will come out here probably within, you would think, a month. Because usually you see teams that get announced. They announce how many people have thrown their $50 deposit down for season tickets.
Yeah.
Tyler, I would be interested. I don't know if you could find this out, but do you think there's a max of how many people that they're taking deposits from? Because if not, I think it'd be a fun game next week to try to guess how many people put a deposit down when we'll say well, I guess I don't know when they're going to announce it, but we'll say, all right, we'll just do this right now. How many people do you think put a deposit down yesterday? I don't even know if we're going to have if we're actually going to get this answer. But in
Well, we had a
24
few in the
hours, because
chat
we've been at
already.
24 hours, how many do you think did it?
1,000. That's my guess.
2,500.
In the day?
I'll go in the middle and I'll say 1,700.
Okay.
I'll say 2,000.
I
Interesting.
think it's fair.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I really don't have an idea. I mean, it's $50. It's not much there
Yeah.
at all to do, but
Chump change.
it'd be exciting. It'd be exciting if they threw that number out here. Tyler, just see if you can get that number for us.
I will do what I can for sure.
Thank you.
No,
The
I'll do
music's
my
the
best.
music's over, right? It's just us talking now.
Music stop.
Unless you loop it, yeah.
All right.
Yes.